Imagine going to the doctor, trusting them with your life, and they confidently prescribe something that kills you faster than the disease ever could. Not by accident, not malpractice, but because that was the science. Welcome to ancient medicine, where vibes were data, blood was the solution, and survival was optional. Today, when doctors mess up, people get lawsuits. Back then, you got leeches, mercury, and a prayer to vibes you didn't consent to. These people weren't stupid. They were doing their best. With zero microscopes, zero germ theory, and way too much confidence. Let's talk about medical advice that didn't just fail, it actively helped you meet your ancestors sooner. Feeling sick? Fever? Headache? Depressed? Possessed by demons? Stubbed your toe? Ancient doctors. We're gonna need a bucket. Ah yes, too much blood. So they drained it. This practice, bloodletting, lasted for over 2,000 years. It was used by Greeks, Romans, medieval doctors, Renaissance physicians, everybody. The logic? Your body had 4 humors: blood, phlegm, black bile, yellow bile. If you felt bad, one of them was out of balance. And instead of asking why, they just removed fluids until something changed. Sometimes that something was death. This wasn't fringe medicine. This was the default setting. George Washington? Killed after doctors removed 40% of his blood in a single day. Not disease, not infection, just, oops, we unplugged him. Ancient medicine really said, you look weak, let's make that worse. Mercury was the duct tape of ancient medicine. Skin problems? Mercury. STDs? Mercury. Immortality? Mercury. Bad energy? Believe it or not, mercury. The Romans rubbed it on their skin. Medieval doctors drank it. Chinese emperors swallowed mercury pills to live forever. And many of them died immediately. Not later, not eventually. Immediately. Mercury poisoning causes organ failure, hallucinations, tremors, madness, and death. So yes, technically, it did cure your long-term problems because you didn't have a long-term anymore. Doctors saw patients drooling, shaking, losing teeth, and said, excellent, it's working. Before germs were discovered, doctors had a theory. If it smells bad, it must be deadly. This was called miasma theory. Rotting air caused disease. Foul odors were basically assassins. So how did they treat it? By smelling stronger things. Plague doctors wore bird masks stuffed with herbs. Homes were filled with burning incense. People carried flowers to fight disease. Meanwhile, rats were doing parkour in the background, spreading actual plague. Doctors were fighting smells. They weren't washing hands. They weren't isolating patients. They were just like, stand back, I have lavender. And somehow, that wasn't enough. Yes, this is real. For centuries, Europeans believed that powdered Egyptian mummies were medicine. They called it mumia. Headaches? Internal bleeding? Seizures? Just consume ancient corpse dust. Doctors thought the preservation meant life force. What patients actually got was bacteria, mold, lead paint, and literal corpse dust. Pharmacies sold it. Doctors prescribed it. Grave robbing skyrocketed. Ancient medicine said, if it survived 2,000 years, it must be healthy. Imagine surgery. No anesthesia, no antibiotics, no sterilization, just vibes and wood alcohol. Amputations were done while people screamed. Doctors reused tools covered in old blood. Infections were guaranteed. Survival wasn't about skill, it was about speed. Blink, and you're missing a limb. The best surgeons weren't the smartest, they were the fastest. If you lived through surgery, the infection usually finished the job. Ancient doctors called this treatment. Patients called it the worst day of their existence. Your illness didn't come from bacteria, it came from Mars being petty. The cosmos woke up and chose violence. Doctors checked zodiac signs before treating patients. Certain days were bad for bleeding. Others were good for surgery. So yes, your appendix burst because Mercury was in retrograde. If you died, it wasn't malpractice, it was fate. Ancient medicine really said, the stars said no. Here's the scary part. These doctors weren't evil. They were respected, educated, trusted. People didn't question them because questioning medicine felt like questioning reality itself. And once something becomes tradition, it survives long after it stops working, sometimes for centuries. Imagine explaining this to a modern doctor. So they drained your blood, fed you mercury, made you inhale herbs, and blamed Jupiter. Your doctor would call the police. Ancient patients called it healthcare. The most dangerous thing in history wasn't disease. It was confidence without evidence. And if there's one lesson here, it's that in 2,000 years, someone will look back at our medicine and say, why the hell did they think that worked? And they'll say it with the same confidence we're laughing right now. If this made you uncomfortable, good. Like, subscribe, and comment on the worst medical advice you've ever heard. Because history proves one thing: the doctor was trying their best and still absolutely cooked people.